So I'm going to give this is an OR person's view of the area of descriptive analytics and what we see as the relationship and some of the things that I've seen from an OR perspective of what we call descriptive analytics. So many people have seen this chart. It appears in Tom Tavenport's book. We use it, we've modified it a little bit at IBM to talk about the different kinds of analytics. So at the bottom, we talk about descriptive analytics, that's answering questions, what happened, how many evolved, and where, what exactly is the problem. Predictive analytics saying what should you do about it, actions are needed, using the words, what could happen in simulation, what if these trends continue, what will happen next. And then the prescriptive analytics, we have optimization, which is of course my heritage, how can we achieve the best outcome. And then in IBM research, we look at things like optimization under uncertainty, how can we achieve the best outcome when we know that we live in an uncertain world. And some of you may have remembered in Manoj's introduction to predictive analytics yesterday, he put up those same types of questions just scattered around. And so we're all talking the same language, even though we come from two different companies, in how we look at the analytics landscape. So we think of the predictive and prescriptive areas as being in the area of advanced analytics. Generally, you're always going to need an expert, somebody who has some of that math background in either of the predictive or prescriptive areas. It's kind of hard to get out without that. In the descriptive area, it's a little bit different. And in fact, if you look at a software revenue standpoint, at least certainly for IBM, I even think in the overall market analysis, the descriptive area is where actually a lot of the money is. And in fact, you generally have to be descriptive, is what we'll talk about today, before you get into the other areas. So most businesses today a lot of them are still trying to get all the data together, and then they can start understanding what's happening or what has happened by doing descriptive analytics. Then they can get to the step of saying, well, what do we think will happen? And then they get to prescriptive, which is what do we want to do about it? How can we make decisions based upon what we think will happen? So descriptive analytics is all about the data. You do it all the time. You use things like Excel and charts and tables. And every OR project, you always start by looking at data. If you're not, you're just worried about the math, then, well, you should go to the math of OR conference. But if you really are doing some real projects, you have to be playing with data, and you've got to get an understanding of that data, and you do that by using descriptive tools. You'll do some visualization of the types of answers that you might have. Again, those are all descriptive types of analytics. The tool sets that you see that are available are things like for doing standard reporting. This is very big in finance. So see, Gigi's going to talk later in the session about what we call the CFO dashboard. So that's a thing that our clients use to understand what is the financial state of their business. So sales reports, production reports, all those types of reporting is descriptive analytics. The ad hoc reporting, I like to think of sort of pivot tables on steroids. You want to be able to do and look at slice and dice and look at your data all sorts of ways, but you want to make it very easy for people to understand and do it so that you can train them in the kinds of reports that they can do. Oftentimes you want to drill down. If you're a sales manager, you might be looking at your sales from an entire region. You might want to drill down to the states, the cities, and the individual sales reps and do so in a very quick way. So data has to be organized to allow you to make that happen. And you have to, as well as you also want to make it quick and easy with pretty displays, etc. So the whole goal is to make it easy for the business user to get an understanding of their business. In the OR context, it's making it easy for that business person who knows nothing about OR to understand the answers you're delivering. So here's an example of a performance dashboard. Comes from our Cognos product. And what you'll see you'll see tools here. So for example, over here in the top left, you'll see that there's a thing that lets you choose, what years are involved in the report. You can choose which products. You click apply, the graph will then update. Same type of thing down here where you're comparing actual versus forecasts. Looking at units ordered in a simple table, or customer orders per year, where you use color to indicate good and bad, etc. So producing these kinds of dashboards, this is classic descriptive analytics. IBM makes a lot of money selling this stuff. It kind of amazes me, frankly, all right? But the reality is businesses use this. The business intelligence market is all about doing stuff like this. I found this set of slides internally, and I thought it was a nice way of explaining descriptive analytics as moving from the descriptive all the way to the predictive on the right. And so on the left, you start seeing where the casual users needs very top-down views. They need to be able to drill down to specific types of things. Then you move into trending, where you're slicing and dicing, doing more personal exploration. Maybe more of an executive or business manager does those types of things. They might rotate the data. You might want to do products by years or years by products, for example. Then you might get into scenario modeling. And when I see this, I sort of wonder, and I say, well, yeah, we don't do that in OR where you're using optimization to do it, but you'll see people doing things like they'll produce a financial report and they'll say, for next year, what would happen if our sales go up by 10%? And they just reproduce some numbers so that they get an idea of where profitability will be. And then you, of course, move to the predictive space, but where you really need the specialist, the statistical analyst who's going to go in there and build the kind of models that you need. So let me focus on the first three as areas of descriptive analytics. The kind of broad usage you see is in analytical reporting. You have different kinds of guided analysis, the dashboards like the one I showed, briefing books, drill reports. Of course, now we're seeing mobile becoming the big thing. So a lot of demand for our clients to be able to get those reports on their iPads or on their BlackBerries and iPhones. So, being able and making it all easy to use for people to get at that information very easily. You look at for trending, you want to be able to slice and dice the data. So, if you look sort of here, you'll see this sort of looks a little bit like a pivot table, but it's been being presented in a browser. So that way you can have, be platform independent and you don't have to buy lots of, worry about all those Excel licenses sitting on the desktop. You need very lightweight computing that allows you to deliver it even on mobile devices. You might want to look at being able to drag and drop, easily change how you're looking at the data, looking at top and bottom performers, having things automatically refreshed. So descriptive analytics is not just about what has happened, looking at your past sales, but you might be looking at wanting to look at exactly what's happening now. All right, so it's not just what has happened in the past, but it's also a representation of present time. You start seeing scorecarding, so you look at different metrics that people are trying to understand, who's accountable for them, and drive different displays that provide that level of kind of understanding. The dashboarding is another example. You saw that. You see some pictures here, lots of graphs, pictures, debate, but you want to make it easy to create these kinds of reports on large data sets. So sometimes we do a lot of this as OR people inside of tools like Excel, but generally as data gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and has lots of dimensions, it becomes much more efficient to be driving this off of corporate data instead of having to pull everything into an Excel spreadsheet. So the bottom line here, in my short introduction to descriptive analytics and OR, is that as OR people, we've always done some form of this. We just never had a really label for it. We said, oh, we're experts at Excel or something like that. But it really falls in this realm of descriptive analytics. And there's a lot of these advanced tools make it easier to work with these very large data corpuses, make it easy for you to design different kinds of reports, and make it easy for the business analysts to gain their understanding of the data. The tools is actually much better than Excel. All right, so they're not only tools from IBM, but from SAS. I saw Tableau here for the first time. They're actually a great tool for doing creating reports and on-the-go slides for different types of graphics, etc. So really, you have to think about using descriptive analytics. It's going to make it easier for others to understand the benefits of your OR-driven results. So with that introduction, I'll turn it over to you.